Welcome back to BNC Live. During the pandemic, many Americans feeling cooped up, discovering new hobbies. I know I did. Decades before the pandemic even was a factor, Black people were enjoying the benefits of biking. Cycling has long been a part of our culture for social reasons and for safety. And some people opted to ride their bike as an alternative to the harassment that often came with using segregated public transportation. And joining me now to talk more about this, Black people and cycling, is Glen of the Major Taylor Cycling Club in Chicago. Glen, good afternoon and welcome to BNC.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me today.
We are excited to have you here to talk about this. So, Glen, let's begin by talking about the club's namesake. Who was Marshall Walter Major Taylor?
Major Taylor was born in Indiana in 1878, and at the age of 13, he won his first bicycle race. And even before that, he would perform on a bicycle in front of bike shops in Indianapolis. And so he became known as Major Taylor, and then went on to start winning races. And he was taken under the wing of a bicycle shop owner, and he coached him in bicycle racing and helped him along in the sport. Ultimately, Major Taylor, by say 1898, had set 7 world records, and in 1899 he became the world champion in a race in Montreal, Canada.
Well, we know when Black people do it, we strive to do our best and be at the top, right? So now you actually ride in his name. How many members do you have nationwide and people participating in this?
You know, I want to first say that we have about 75 clubs across the United States, and we see 1, maybe 2 clubs coming online each quarter. But these clubs are all independent clubs named in his honor, and it's a movement that started about 40 years ago in Columbus, Ohio. Our club, Major Taylor Cycling Club Chicago, was founded in 2008 by about a half a dozen African Americans, and today we have over 300 members in Chicago.
Wow.
And there are approximately 4,000 members nationwide.
And what I really love about this, Glen, is many of your riding events seem to be planned with Black history in mind. You all most recently a 100-mile ride in upstate New York near Harriet Tubman's final home and resting place. Before that, you went to Selma, Alabama, and the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Can you tell us more about those rides and why it's so important to make these rides in these historical locations?
I would start by saying we do about 300 rides a year, the Chicago Club. On any given day of the week between, say, late April and early October, you might find 2 or 3 rides in the Chicago area alone. And so we also travel. We travel to other clubs, and we celebrate each other and the kinds of rides that we all sponsor for one another. And so the Selma 55 ride was a ride that took place in February of 2020, and it followed the same route that Martin Luther King and Congressman Lewis led the Freedom Marchers on in the Voting Rights March of 1965. And so there were about 600, primarily African Americans, who rode that race or rode on that ride. And it was extremely powerful, exciting, and it was also important that we celebrate our own history. After leaving Selma, I came up with the idea of celebrating Harriet Tubman. And I put a proposal before my club, and my club board gave me a leadership position over a committee, and we worked on this ride for 17 months through what most of us call the coronavirus pandemic. And we came up with a really exciting program. We marketed it, and we were able to attract cyclists from all across the United States to travel to Ithaca, New York, in order to honor the faith and courage of Harriet Tubman. So on Saturday, the 23rd or the 24th, excuse me for not remembering the exact date, there were about 32 cyclists who left at 6 o'clock in the morning to go around Cayuga Lake, and eventually they arrived at Harriet Tubman's gravesite.
Wow.
There were an additional 60 cyclists who left Myers Park in Lansing on a 62-mile course. And they left traveling north to Auburn, New York, and arrived at Harriet Tubman's gravesite. And then there were additional 60 cyclists who we put their bicycles in a trailer or on a truck and took them up to Auburn in a bus. And they also rendezvoused at Harriet Tubman's gravesite. We also visited the New York State Heritage Center and Harriet Tubman Home, which is the home where she lived for the last 50 years of her life.
Awesome.
And then we also 32 miles back to Myers Park and had a great picnic and celebration there at the end of the ride.
Well, Glenn, we are so excited to see you all going the extra mile and the extra distance and being able to see our Black people show up on those cycles. We appreciate your time today. And stay with us. Much more BNC Live after this break.